Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock and it's time for a review show special. Now this is where I take a deep dive into a particular company, a particular creator, and I kind of go deep dive into one particular trick, normally a trick that everyone's talking about, that everybody wants to know. And today I'm going to be talking about this. This is T-Fork by Harrius Presents. It's actually by Magician Go and Harrius. And this is the new trick that Henry has brought out for Black Friday. And what this is, effectively, this is a way to kind of end a metal bending routine. We'll kind of get into this more in a minute, but it's a way to basically end a metal bending routine. Now, before I begin, I want to tell you that Henry sent me this. So, normally I buy everything, and I'm very proud of that. But Henry did actually send me this. I didn't ask him to send it me. I found a parcel and he messaged me and said, "Hey, I've just sent you a T-Fork." So this is actually being sent to me. However, that doesn't change my opinion of the trick. In fact, to give you a bit of a sneak peek into what grade this is going to get, I've just been on his site for Black Friday and I've just ordered 10 boxes of these, 10 refill boxes, and paid, Black Friday prices for them because of how good I think this is. But please bear in mind that this was actually gifted to me by Henry. So let's get into it. What is T-Fork? Well, metal bending is more popular now than ever before. A lot of the people that I do lots of gigs with regularly, people like Nemeth Phoenix, Thomas Maloney, I see them using liquid metal in every single gig. Now, I've been using liquid metal for years. I love liquid metal. I have been bending forks as long back as I can remember. And there's something really cool about fork bending. There really is. I think that the liquid forks by Alakazam are fantastic. They are phenomenal. And the liquid metal routine by Morgan Striebler, which is kind of the quintessential fork bending routine that a lot of close-up magicians use, is great. And then obviously you've got Banachek and you've got all the other people that have contributed to the bending kind of genre over the previous years. What this has got going for it, what this is different compared to anything else, is that you get a bunch of forks that have been custom designed. And the fork ends up looking like this. So the fork ends up looking like this. So it ends up looking like the end of the fork has been fused onto the middle of the fork, right? That's basically what it ends up looking like. Now, how you get there is dependent on what you're going to do. And there's a bunch of different options on the tutorial. So first of all, you're going to learn a couple of basic handlings that allow you to do this as kind of as a standalone piece. So you're going to learn, just kind of how to do this on the fly, how to do this just as kind of like a one-phase thing. And there's a couple of different ways that they actually suggest that you do this. First of all, Magician Go, who created the routine, is going to show you his preferred handling if he's just doing it as a one-phase thing. And then you're going to see Henry, he's going to come along and give you a couple of different ideas as well. And I think the key thing with the basic routine is it is very practical. Now, you can't tell with this fork, all the other forks are in the other room, but when you get the fork, it's made like this. You have this part permanently in place. It's all been made as this. It's not like they've stuck this on and soldered it. This is all made as one unit. And the end of the fork is designed so it's got a tension break there. Now, if you don't do fork bending, you don't know what tension break is. A tension break is where you kind of take a fork and you go back and forth and back and forth. If you've ever seen the original liquid metal routine, with the original liquid metal routine, and a lot of people don't do this anymore, I still do when I do liquid metal on stage, is Morgan brought out 2 forks. He would hand one fork to somebody and he'd take the other fork and he'd do this and the fork would bend and then the head would drop off the fork. That is done through the use of a tension break. So you go back and forth with it and it's very close to breaking. So you can show the fork and you can just rub it and warm it up with your fingers and it's going to break very, very easily without looking like you're putting any pressure on it. Now, these forks have been made so there is a tension break built into the correct part of the fork, which is there. So when you see this fork, and I'll show you a live performance in a minute, when you see this fork, there's actually a tension break there, which means that this is super practical because you can just put some of these in your pocket. When you want to do it, you bring it out like this. They're not going to see that tension break, but you can just kind of do this. And when you do this, you can have that moment where the end breaks off. Now, on the tutorial, Magician Go tells you how you can actually, if you want to, not do it that way, and you can openly break the end off the fork. So if you don't want to do it kind of like a magical moment, you can actually break the end off the fork. Now, the reason it's important, regardless of how you do it, the reason it's important that you have that tension break there built into the fork is it needs to be the correct size. Because when you do that tension break, that piece is going to fall off, which is going to be identical to this piece here, which is going to allow you to then take this piece, put it over here, and make it look like you've fused it on. Now, I'm going to show you a performance of me doing sort of that main routine, doing that sort of basic routine to Thomas Maloney. So I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like. Later on in the more advanced routine, Magician Go talks about how you can actually have the fork signed. He talks about how you can have two people to sign the fork, or you can sign the fork and they can sign the fork. There's a lot of different options. I really like that signed gambit, and I've included it in the basic routine. So the performance you're going to see involves, basically you're going to see exactly how this looks. So you're going to see the end. I do it as kind of a magical moment where the end just kind of almost melts off into the spectator's hand, and then you're going to see it being signed and then kind of fused back on. And the handling I'm using is Henry's handling, which I thought was the cleanest way of actually doing this, because it allows you to show your hands completely empty before you give the fork out. So I'm not going to say anything else. Let's have a look at a performance of that right now so you can see what this looks like, and then we'll come back and we'll carry on talking about the tutorial, and we'll carry on talking about everything else. So this is the quick version. This is like the basic version, but I actually quite like the basic version. There are more advanced routines, which we'll get to in a bit. But I have a fork, Tom, as you can see, and I have a pen. Now, what I want you to do, can you take the pen and can you, right there on the bowl of the fork, can you just put your initials? Now, the reason I get your initials put there is because that makes that fork unique, right? Now, I'm going to try and do something. I want you to watch carefully. You ever seen the people that bend metal?
Yeah.
Well, I can actually go one step further than bending metal. You see, if I use my finger and I just do this, what I can actually do is I can actually heat up the metal, and I can actually start to make it pliable. And once it becomes pliable, you're not going to believe this, but I can actually take it and I can do this. I can actually cause it to bend like that. Now hold your hand out for me. I can go one step further. I can do this. I can actually make it come right off, which is crazy, right? You know, Uri Geller might bend the fork. I can actually break that thing. Can you put your finger there so it doesn't go away? I'm going to go one step further. I'm just going to put my initials there. You can put the lid back on again. So we've got your initials, we've got my initials. Now you're going to see something absolutely incredible. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I want you to watch. This is not an easy thing to do, but I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to see if I can take mine initialed one. And I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to see if I can balance it. Balance the fork right there. Just like that. I can actually balance that fork right there onto the piece that broke off. In fact, I can actually go one step further, and as well as heating up the fork to break it, I can actually heat it up and reattach that piece right there on the fork, just like that. And you can have that as a souvenir, and I think that's the weirdest souvenir anybody will ever see.
Quite strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not going to break. Okay, so that was a performance of sort of the basic routine for this. And Michael, who was behind the camera, has seen a lot of magic. And when he watched that, he turned around to me and he went, "That's one of the best things I've seen on Magic TV." And I completely agree with him. I think this is phenomenal. And let me explain why I think it's better than liquid metal. Now, I'm not dissing liquid metal. I think liquid metal is amazing. But let me tell you why I think this is better. Before we get into the advanced routine, just doing this, there's a few reasons why. I've done liquid metal millions of times, and when you give that fork to somebody and it's bent into millions of pieces, that's a beautiful moment. That's a great moment, right? But the amount of times that I've gone to somebody later on in the night and they've unbent the fork, because when you leave that fork with them, when you leave that liquid metal fork with them, it's bent, the prongs are all busted out, it's got a corkscrew bend in it. people can take all of that out. Not always the corkscrew bend, but they can take the tine bends and they can take the other bends out. And you can go back to people later on, and I've seen people go, look, I've managed to unbend it. And that's fine, because obviously when you were performing it to them, you weren't obviously bending it, but still I think it weakens it a little bit. But you want to give it out as a souvenir because it's a really cool souvenir. But there is that moment where you can kind of see that you can bend a fork. A fork is actually bendable, especially if you're using a liquid fork or something like that, where it is possible to bend it back. The first thing I love about this is that this is a completely impossible object. It reminds me a little bit of cube in bottle, in that you are taking it and you are creating an impossible object that is completely impossible to reverse engineer. There's no way people are going to be able to understand how this works. From their point of view, you bent a fork, you took a fork, you made the end come off, and you stuck it to the side. Now, think about it. I always believe that when you're performing magic and you're giving a souvenir out, that souvenir should extend beyond the performance. And what I mean by that is, if a souvenir is given to the spectator and they show it to another person, that other person needs to look at it and have no idea how it works. So, for example, if I have somebody sign a card and the card comes to the top of the deck and I give it to them as a souvenir, well, it doesn't really tell anything much to anybody who they might show that card to. But if I was doing Anniversary Waltz and I had two cards that are now face-to-face fused together, that becomes an impossible object, right? That's an example. Another example is something like Elliot Gerard and Matthew Wright's Torn and Restored. The card looks completely impossible. It looks like it can't possibly restore, right? This has that same thing, in that if somebody was given a fork at the end of a liquid fork routine and then they show it to somebody else, that person could say, well, didn't they just bend it when you weren't looking? But with this, they're not going to say that. They're going to go, hang on a minute, that was there and now it's here and it's permanently on there. What the hell? Right? It's an impossible object. And for me, that's one of the biggest moments of this. And yes, it's going to be more expensive than a liquid fork. And maybe you're not going to do it as many times as you would do liquid metal, because Alakazam have got the liquid forks really cheap. But maybe this is something for the CEO. This is something for the person that you really want to do something special with. Second of all, I know I plan on not doing the advanced routine. We'll talk about the advanced routine later on. It's very, very good. I plan on not doing the advanced routine. I plan on doing this routine as an opener and then going into some liquid metal stuff. Because the thing you need to understand is I can give this out signed like that by the spectator, and then I can come up here, and because of how they've made the forks, I can still do a lot of the liquid metal routine. Even with this fork like this, I can still do the bends, I can still do the time bends. I haven't tried a corkscrew. Let me just try it. It might be a bit difficult. I haven't tried it. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to do a corkscrew. Maybe with a bit of practice you might be able to. But the tines bend really, really easily. So you could do all the time bend stuff if you wanted to and make this look even crazier. No problem at all. With that there, that's absolutely fine. But you've got this really impossible object, regardless of whether you do that or not. I love this. And look, as a close-up magician, more and more people are doing liquid metal. And that's why I stopped doing double cross, because everybody was doing bloody double cross, and I stopped doing it because I was walking up to people and they were like, oh, you're going to put a cross on my hand. I don't want to walk up to people and go, I'm going to show you a trick with a fork. Oh, you're going to bend it like the other guy, which very possibly could happen, right? But I love the idea of going up to a group and somebody saying, oh, I saw a magician the other week, he bent a fork. Oh, did he? Right, I tell you what, I won't bend a fork. I'll do something even crazier. Watch. Boom. Done. I love that idea. I think that is super smart. I think this is a reputation maker. I really do. I think this is going to get you so many gigs. I think this is just completely impossible. I think this is a social media, Instagram killer. I think this is amazing. So yeah, I love this. Bottom line, I love this. I think this is amazing. In terms of how well they're made really well. The one thing that I'd say with the tension break is you want to work it in slightly. So you want to give it a little bit. They talk about that on the tutorial, work it in slightly. Just a little bit, just back and forth a couple of times. It will take 10 seconds before you put it in your pocket. And other than that, it's perfect. They're really well made. I think Henry and Magician Go are onto a winner. Now, the rest of the tutorial's really well explained. Henry obviously speaks English very clearly. Magician Go does not, but the subtitles when Magician Go is speaking. He has a longer routine, which is kind of his bread and butter routine, and you see a live performance of that as well, which is very much appreciated. And it's an amazing routine. It's a multi-phase routine culminating in this final moment. And there's a lot that's going on, and there's a lot of thought process that's gone into that. And you can tell that that's Magician Go's 1,000th timer, and he's done that 1,000,000 times. And you can tell this is not something that he's created just to have a product out, and this is something that he's done, and he's done for a long time, and now it's coming to market. And the advanced routine is great. It didn't suit my style, but that's not to say it's not a great routine. It is. What does suit my style, however, is doing what you just saw in the performance, which is literally bringing out a fork, snapping it off, fusing it back onto the side and giving it to a spectator. I think that is an absolutely stonking, incredible moment of magic. And I think this is in the running for Trick of the Year. I think this is in the running with all of the other tricks that we've talked about that are really good. I think this is in the running Trick of the Year. I think T-Fork is great. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. It's amazing. It's another winner by Henry Harrius. And, you know, we all know how much time and effort and thought Henry puts into his effects. And this is another example. I'm going to give this 120%. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. You can get it from his website, and you'll have it delivered. And I believe at the moment it's only available through Henry's website, but you get everything you need. You get the tutorial. It's about half an hour long, very good tutorial. You get you get a bunch of forks. I think you get about 25, 30 forks, and you get everything you need to perform it. So that is T-Fork by Henry Harrius presents Henry Harrius and a Magician Go. So there you go. That's all you need to know. I want to say thank you so much, guys, for watching the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on a Sunday evening. I really appreciate it. Now, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back again with another video tomorrow. There's going to be a 5x5 tomorrow. Go back and look at the Q&A if you haven't already done so. Yesterday, we had an interview. Go check out the interview on Talk Magic. We've got videos going up every single day on Magic TV. As far as I'm aware, we are the only magic channel for magicians where at least one video goes up every single day. So make sure that you keep watching, subscribe, join the Netrix. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. You can get access immediately, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.